Good morning, everybody, to my sofa session. Going to be talking about why listening is a skill. Not what did she say? Pardon me. Why listening is such an important skill. Hearing and listening are not the same thing. You hear music, the sound of rainfall, or the sound of food being prepared in the kitchen. Listening, on the other hand, requires attention, comprehension of the message that's being relayed, and the recollection of what's being said. Effective listeners don't always show interest, they also acknowledge what is being said. Listening is a valuable skill on both a professional and a personal level. Benefits of being a good listener then. There are numerous benefits associated with being a good listener. People with refined listening skills can help others feel more secure in expressing their opinion. They may also help to reduce tension and stress in arguments and get other people to communicate respecting the speaker. Other benefits might include being more likeable, building stronger relationships and having a clearer understanding of what's being discussed. Good listeners are actually more likeable. Individuals with strong listening skills are present in the conversation. They're in the now. People who listen with focus are often perceived as being more likeable. Good listeners build strong relationships. Communication is not a one-way street. Good listeners show interest. They ask open-ended questions and acknowledge what's being said. This helps reduce misunderstandings and builds the stronger relationships that we all want. Good listeners have a clearer understanding of the topics being discussed. Individuals with refined listening skills seek to understand a person's message. They pay attention to both verbal and non-verbal cues and ask for clarification when needed. We've all sat and interrupted. I think we've all sat and listened to somebody and drifted off. So those are those ineffective listening skills that we all have as human beings. And listening isn't a passive activity, but a process that you actively have to undertake. To be a better listener, you must be focused on the speaker, their message, and also let the speaker know how you understand what's being said by just nodding your head or being in the now. Here are a few techniques for being a more effective listener. Make eye contact. Maintaining and making eye contact with the speaker lets them know that you have undivided attention, that you're interested in what they're saying and how it's coming across. For instance, if you're on a Zoom or Teams meet, turn your phone off. Reduce your browsers you might have up on your screen and put everything to do not disturb. Ask follow-up questions. If the speaker's message isn't unclear, then clarify it. Get some clarification. Ask those confirming questions so that you know what the right message is. And this can help you gauge if you're receiving the message accurately. If you're engaged with a teacher or a colleague or a manager, take notes and leave the room for silence. Be present and attentive. Good listeners are. They shut out distractions and give their individual attention to the speaker. Additionally, using positive minimal responses such as nodding, touch or sound, or hand up, all of these show you're listening and actively engaging with the speaker. And don't interrupt. When you interrupt, it actually does show that you may not care about what the speaker's actually saying. Interrupting can also make it appear that you're uninterested in the subject matter and look to interject in a more positive way. Ineffective listeners aren't engaged at all. They don't make eye contact and often miss what's being presented. You should include selective listening, okay, inattentive and defensive listening, all of which I just explained. Selective listening, or selective hearing, is what I normally call it. But in this instance, it's selective listening. It's like listening with a highlighter. Instead of considering the totality of the speaker's message, you just select what you want to hear, and you only pay attention to those parts of the message and that are relevant to you, but that might not be the whole message. Inattentive listeners don't give speakers their full attention. They're often distracted and focused on other things. They might be doodling, they might be looking out the window, they might be looking at what other people are doing. They might be fiddling on their phone. That's the biggest thing since mobile phones came out. Or they might even have earphones in when you're speaking. Highly offensive. Defensive listening then. Defensive listeners hear innocent statements such as, I don't like people who are indecisive, and perceive there's a personal attack on them. Defensive listening can cause stress and strain in both personal and professional relationships. So what kind of listening is there? I've done some research and found that there's actually 4 types of listening. I'll go through them briefly so we get a bit more of an understanding of what this skill is and why it is so important to us. Listening skills can be developed, as any skill can be developed, but it does take practice. When you're interested in improving your networking and building your connections, whether that be personally or professionally, like landing a new client, connecting with better with your family members, strong listening skills can help. Here's some effective listening styles that might help. Deep listening. Deep listening occurs when you're committed to understanding the speaker's perspective. It involves paying attention to both verbal and non-verbal cues, such as the words being used, the speaker's body language and their tone. All makes a difference. This type of listening helps build trust and rapport, and it often helps others feel more comfortable in expressing their thoughts and opinions, and then you become more open as a speaker and the listener becomes more open back to you. Full listening involves paying close attention and careful attention to what the message the speaker is conveying. It often involves the use of active listening techniques such as paraphrasing. Who's been said to the person you're speaking to ensure you understand their messaging. Full listening is useful in the classroom when someone is instructing you on how to complete a task and when discussing work projects with management. Critical thinking. Critical thinking involves being systematic in your reasoning and careful thought to analysing a speaker's message and a separate fact from opinion. Separating fact from opinion is critical listening. It's often used in situations where speakers may have a certain agenda or goal, political debate or salesperson doing a pitch. The last one is therapeutic listening. Therapeutic listening means allowing a friend or colleague or a family member to discuss their problems. It involves emphasising and applying supportive non-verbal cues, such as nodding, maintaining eye contact, being empathic or sympathetic. Okay, in addition to emphasising with their experiences. Listen until they've finished. That's the most important. We all interrupt when people are talking about their feelings and their problems with our feelings and problems, when actually all these people want to do is speak to you. So you've got to learn to listen and sit back. It's not always easy. A skill that I'm trying to grow myself. So becoming a good listener then. Becoming a better listener, as I said, takes practice, but if you succeed, you'll find yourself learning new things, more interesting things, and more people will want to communicate with you. You can also find you're better at picking up subtle messaging cues that others may miss. A number of specific strategies can be applied to listening, but they all share one key element: being present, being attentive during the conversations, being respectful to those involved, and being in the now. This ability can help you in every walks of life, and one skill that I feel is the most important skill that we have to maintain. I found some key elements of listening, key active listening skills, and I found 7, so I'm going to give you these. They are as follows: be attentive, ask open-ended questions, ask probing questions depending on what the conversation or the message the speaker is conveying, repeat clarification, paraphrase, be attuned and add reflective feelings, and always summarise and take notes. Those are my ideas, those are my techniques for you to help to become good listeners. Remember, my sofa session goes onto my blog on my website. My website is www.sbbusinesssupport.com. And thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye for now.